All right, it's time to take a detour, and we have more friends joining us on this detour this week. This detour we are releasing to everybody for you to check out. So this is normally something that we do for our mile marker members, our paid community. We wanted to give everybody a chance to see what this is like. It's not I'm not going to try to make a big deal about it, but it's a 10 to 15 minutes after the show we chat about something that's been going on with us recently or something that's been going on and in the news recently, whatever it might be. And this week, we want to talk about state parks because there's been some news recently about state parks, particularly that Alabama is going to be giving Alabama residents a 1 month head start on reservations over people that live in other states. Florida has this too. They passed this last year. I don't think it's been passed in Michigan, but a law has been presented in Michigan that does the same thing. There's some states where, like Idaho, where there are certain state parks that cost double if you're not from the state of Idaho. At their most popular state parks, you might be paying $65 a night instead of the 35, $40 a night that a state resident pays. So there are things that states are doing and have been doing over the last few years that favor their residents. And the theory here from those states is that, well, politicians are making their residents happy, so they get reelected. But the theory is that, the people in that state pay the taxes that create these parks, and therefore they should get to enjoy them. And at a time when so many more people are camping, it's harder for them to get to these parks and enjoy them in the state.
Yeah. So when we talked about bringing this up, when we talked about what our detour episode for was going to be for this week, one of the things that we do here with these episodes for mile marker members is we open it. It's a little bit more of a behind the scenes look. It's a chance for Jason and I maybe to be a little bit more opinionated or to dive deeper into something that we wouldn't normally do on the main episode. And this is one of those topics when, the first thing we if we were to name this, we'd have two names for this. Is the RV industry, is the boom in RVing killing our state parks, or are the states killing their state parks at campgrounds? And this is the question, because for everyone who argues to me that you pay taxes and you should get first dibs to that park, I say to you, you're killing tourism, and tourism is what drives a lot of these local economies.
Yeah, and they're both valid arguments, right?
They're both valid arguments.
There are no perfect solutions to this problem other than building more campgrounds, right? Which is one option that states have. States have lagged dramatically this camping boom. In building new campsites and campgrounds. It's just there's been almost no movement on that front, as opposed to like the private campground industry. There's another side to this though, too. In some states, they don't build campgrounds as much because the legislatures feel like when the state builds a campground, they're competing with the private campground industry. So, for instance, in a state like South Dakota, they have a law that requires them to price campsites competitively with private campgrounds so that they're not undercutting private campgrounds and competing with them, which is silly to me because, they're the amenities are just wildly different.
There's my point right there. So if you are Idaho and you're going to ask me as an out-of-state visitor to pay $65 a night to camp in your state park, I better roll up to a very well-kept campsite. I would like a very nice and clean bathhouse. And I would like to find amenities that are going to be very similar to what I might pay at a private campground. And now I understand, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of private campgrounds out there charging way too much for their campground. And I think that this also is another part in all of this. Yes, so the state legislatures want to keep their, constituents happy. They want to make sure that if you're in that state, you're getting first dibs. But these raising of prices, and, New Mexico is doing it, what Idaho has done, this idea that South Dakota has, these are all money grabs.
Yeah,
This is
the
taking
reason
advantage of an industry that has boomed in
they're
the last 4
they're
years.
selling them as not money grabs, but
They're money grabs.
But the reason how they're money grabs is because it doesn't work. It's not enough. As much as it's frustrating and expensive that a state park is $65, it's still not enough to deter an out-of-state visitor who is coming from far away to have their vacation in this place from book. It might deter a few of them, but other people are taking their place. You would have to price them at like $200 a night for it to actually discourage those out-of-state visitors from using them at all, so that the in-state people can use them. So instead, what you're doing is just getting more money, which, there's valid reasons for state parks to get more money, but as long as that money is actually going back to that state park and improving that state park, which is something that we're just not seeing a lot of.
I think that I'm harping on Idaho really hard here right now, I know, but when I think of staying at Henry's Lake for $65 a night to have access to Yellowstone, which is still about a half hour, 45-minute drive just to get to the gate, and then however long it's going to take me to, another hour just to get to Old Faithful, guess what? I'm going to go pay that $110 a night to stay in West Yellowstone and stay at a private campground, even if I am squeezed in like a sardine, because I gain so much of my time back.
Yeah.
And the reason why we went to Henry's Lake when we stayed there was because it was an affordable option that we could justify going and doing some time at the West Yellowstone campground.
So that's it to me, because it's what you're saying is it's not what we would have done.
No,
because what we would have done is spent less time in the area.
Yes.
And because we still stayed in West Yellowstone for a bit, which enabled us to be close to the park, and then we spent more time in the area by going out to Henry's Lake and visiting that area, and then using that to jump off to Yellowstone. So what they want to do is they want you to go stay at a private campground somewhere if you're staying for a decent amount of time in the area. But for us, the reality would have been we just would have spent less time there.
We just would have left, and that would have been less of our tourism dollars in that area.
But when there's no deterrent, when there's plenty of people coming in, that doesn't matter to them, right? They're like, it doesn't matter. We're full all the time. We don't care about you. We care about this other person. But what's going to happen when tourism dies down a little bit? It's already been dying down a little bit, and these prices are still very high. But then there's the whole fairness idea. Is it fair for residents to get a boost, a cut, a cheaper rate? And I think there's arguments on both sides, and this isn't new. Like, for a long time, residents pay less for state park admission in a lot of states, right? They might not pay less for a campground, but these extreme amounts is sort of the new thing. And is that fair when we're becoming more of a of a country without state borders? Do they matter as much?
Some people would say yes, they matter a whole lot,
and they do. And there is no getting around the fact that people pay property taxes in these states and all that sort of stuff, and their money goes into these parks. But are you then going to another state and visiting their state parks?
I mean, you could argue though too that I pay state taxes in my state, and there are state parks there that others are utilizing that I'm not, but I am paying to help keep those parks nice. And although, hello, Illinois, so that others may come and enjoy them. So why the isolationism all of a sudden? Why the gatekeeping on these state parks all of a sudden?
Well, there you go, though, with the flip side of it is Illinois is a great example where, that's our home state. State parks, I don't know if they were for a very long time, $25 a night to camp in an Illinois state park. We haven't been to one in a while. So they may have gone up in price, but generally $25 a night to camp in these campgrounds, uh, and for anybody, and it's very it's very open and free for all, and that's wonderful. But they're horribly taken care of.
But you pay for what you get, right?
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to like what I said earlier. Like, if the more money you're going to charge me for a state park, the nicer that state park better be.
So
Like, it just,
yeah,
if I'm going to go to an Illinois state park and I'm going to pay $25 a night and I'm going to have water and electric at my site, that's $25 a night. And I'm getting what I paid for. I expect, if I'm pleasantly surprised that it's a super well kept state park, that's just a bonus. But if I showed up at that state park, if I showed up at an Illinois state park and I was told as a resident that it's, $20, but I'm visiting and they want $50 from me, I would be furious. And I would probably be like, as an out of state visitor, I will not ever return to this state park or to this area.
yeah, but
Again,
they don't want you to. That's the
but
thing.
I would argue that maybe some of the small businesses in that community
Sure.
would very much like you to return.
But I think a lot of people don't see state parks as anymore. They feel like now that they're full up, that if the argument from the state resident side is, we don't want this to be a place for tourists to park to visit the area. We want this to be a place where we can go camp on the weekends.
Those are called county parks and city parks.
No, it doesn't. I mean, like,
I understand what you're saying.
It's a complicated situation. Like
it's
everything.
very complicated.
Like
I understand.
everything, folks. We try to boil things down to like 3-word slogans and stuff like this. The problems of our nation, and this is a small problem in our nation, are very, very complicated. They are not things that are easy to fix and solve. But other than, I'm saying this is easy, it's not easy, but building more campsites, again, is a great solution to this problem as more and more people are interested in camping and going outdoors. And that's a fantastic thing. There just hasn't been this push in state parks to build new campsites. And I'm not saying that you should take up state park land, right? I think that's part of the resistance is like, okay, we've got a state park. It's got a couple campgrounds in it. And if we build out more campsites in this campground, we're taking more of the natural area. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying let's have some more state parks.
Yeah.
Or let's take some of the land that's already developed in those state parks that may have used to be used for some things and turn it into, like, there's every state park I've been to has like amphitheaters and stuff that don't get used anymore and that are trashed out and are overgrown and haven't been used for decades. Let's turn that into more campsite space. Let's find the places where we can do that and build some more campsites for people to go to so that we can keep camping an affordable thing for people to do. It's become more and more and more and more expensive. We talked about it on the main episode here where, this is the entry point for a lot of people into visiting the outdoors is camping, and a way for families to affordably take vacations places. The argument is always, well, if people can afford these $300,000 RVs, they can afford $100 a night. That's not who we're talking about here.
Yeah.
We're talking about the people that tent camp. We are talking about people who own RVs. So let's just say right there that just because you own an RV doesn't mean you're rich. The vast majority of RVs sold cost under $20,000. They're trailers that people pull behind a vehicle that they already own, and they buy them because this is the way they can afford to travel. They can afford to go these places because they have invested in something that allows them to do this. I know we talk about how expensive the RV industry is and has gotten, but people buy used RVs. People have owned RVs for decades. It's not about, oh, you own a $300,000 motorhome so you can afford more. That should never enter the argument, right? Never should come close to the argument, because it's about the people that can't afford it. And we need to be catering to those people, to the general public, and allowing them the opportunity to get to these spaces affordably. And we cannot do that if we just keep raising the rates.
You can't make the claim that the outdoors are for all and then not make it affordable for everyone
And
to enjoy the outdoors.
That goes to the private campgrounds as well. Okay. I'll call out the private campground industry as well. You all have raised the prices indiscriminately over the last few years because you've been busy, but things are loosening up a little bit, and it's time.
Hold on.
It's time to pay attention to what's going on. Your reservations are starting to go down. You need to start dropping your prices again because look, people have been making this argument to me for a few years now that hotels that
A 3-star hotel
that it's getting closer and closer to the cost of hotels, and I kept saying, well, look at the price of, you haven't looked at the price of a hotel for a while. But guess what? Now look at the prices of hotels. Now, if I look at the price of a hotel on the outskirts, where we were in Charlottesville recently, for instance, where we paid $90 a night to stay at a KOA, the decent, Holiday Inn Express type places outside of Charlottesville, which is what I would say is comparable to a campground, right? I'm not talking about, the Hilton downtown, right? That's going to be more expensive. But the comparable vacation,
to put it in Disney terms,
no,
the moderate resort,
the comparable hotel in Charlottesville, when I looked, because someone commented this on that, and I was like, you're wrong. But then I looked, and I was like,
you went on a deep dive.
$110 a night. So I'm paying $20 more a night for a hotel room with a breakfast, with somebody cleaning my room and all that sort of stuff. And there are lots of reasons we RV. You get to carry your own bed around, and you have a space to cook and all that sort of stuff. And we're not people that hate hotels. We love going to hotels, and we love RVing.
We love nice hotels. We love nice hotels.
But a lot of people are right though. The cost of going to a hotel, that hotel probably 2 years ago was $250 a night, but the hotels have come down in price. It's time for the campgrounds to start coming down in price.
Absolutely. So as you can see, this is a slightly different conversation that we have here at Detour. For those of you joining us on our bonus episode, we kind of let Jason loose over here a little bit every once.
Oh, like you don't let loose.
Well, if anyone wants to come in and become a Mile Marker member, they get access to all the past Detour episodes. They can make that decision for themselves. But if you are interested in learning more about becoming a Mile Marker member, you can just go to rvmiles.com/Mile Marker member. And this is really
not member /Mile Marker.
Sorry, rvmiles.com/Mile Markers. But really, at the essence of all of these episodes is we want to open up a discussion with you, the Mile Marker member. We want to hear what you think about this. There's so many layers to this.
Yeah, let's avoid the 3-word answer. Like the rent is too damn high.
Don't tell me.
Is not the solution. The solution is complicated, and let's find some solutions.
Yeah, no, you are wrong. Just if that's all you got, you don't need to say it, I guess. But if you would like to talk about this, like have a real conversation. We often talk about stuff like this in the RV Miles Mile Marker Facebook group. That's a private group we have for Mile Marker members. And we do this, we release these as private videos on YouTube that are only available to Mile Marker members. And we have discussions there. So become a member. Come talk to us about some of these things that, we kind of dig deep down into. And as always, we wrap every episode up. We just want to thank our Mile Marker members. We want to thank all of you for being here, for supporting what we do at RV Miles in this way. It's made a huge difference in the quality and even the quantity of things that we can do now, the things that we can bring to life because we have this additional support. So thank you to all of our Mile Marker members, and thank you to you for watching, for coming over here and spending time with us and considering being a Mile Marker member as well. We will see you all back in the Mile Zero studio on the next episode. The summer RV trip will be over by then, but we will be looking very much forward to seeing so many of you at Homecoming in October. Thank you all for being here, and we will see you on the next Detour.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.